Another fresh set of fuel increases in store for motorists this week. Starting 6 a.m. on Tuesday, the cost of diesel per liter is set to go up by another 4 pesos and 30 centavos. After last week's oil price hike, diesel now costs 78 to 82 pesos per liter. Year-to-date adjustments now stand at an increase of 36 pesos and 85 centavos per liter.
Meanwhile, gasoline will cost 2 pesos and 15 centavos more this week, raising its current price of 76 to 88 pesos per liter. So far this year, gasoline has had a 26 peso and 55 centavos per liter markup.
And kerosene prices are up by 4 pesos, 85 centavos starting Tuesday. This drives up its current price of 83 to 91 pesos per liter. That's nearly 5 pesos in its rise. Kerosene has already gone up by 33 pesos and 10 centavos per liter this year.
Time for the day's biggest headlines. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. As fuel prices reach new highs yet again, more and more jeepney drivers are deciding to park their jeeps instead of trying to make a living.
But it's not just them. Even bus operators are now pleading for help as they now seek higher fares. Gerard de la Peña with The Big Story.
Jeepney drivers are now thinking twice about going on trips as oil prices continue to soar. One of them is Vimar, who plies the UP Pantranco route. He said he will just go on 3 trips today, as another hike is expected. Of the 85 units plying this route, only 10 decided to push through today.
Sasayang lang din ng sabi ng may-ari, pagka hindi kumita, wala tayong magagawa.
It's the same case at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. Some modern and traditional jeepneys opted not to go on trips. That's why the PTEX management is planning to ask the LTFRB for help.
Ramdam natin na naapektuhan na sila, much to the detriment ng ating mga pasahero. Kaya naman pinag-aaralan natin mabuti kung paano i-augment to.
With less PUJs on the road, passengers are having a hard time as well.
Ganito po kahirap talaga dito sumakay. Magtitiis ka talaga ng pagod at tiyaga.
High toll fees and fuel prices have also prompted provincial bus operators to ask the LTFRB for a 30 centavo per kilometer fare hike. They said they will file the petition within the week. The last time these buses hiked fares was in 2018. However, it doesn't stop there. Another set of oil price hikes will take effect on Tuesday. Diesel prices will go up by 4 pesos and 30 centavos per liter, gasoline by 2 pesos and 15 centavos, and kerosene by 4 pesos and 85 centavos. The Energy Department cites the ban on Russian oil imports and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war for the continuing round of oil price hikes. But the DOE says pump prices are unlikely to reach the 100 peso per liter mark anytime soon. This as oil exporting countries have committed to increase production next month. The lockdown in Shanghai, China is also expected to curb demand next week. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Traveling woes, of course, are not limited to land travel. Jet fuel prices are increasing. Fuel surcharges that airlines may impose have also soared to a new record this month as it reaches level 7 from the previous level 4. How is the airline industry coping? That big question and more with Air Asia Philippines spokesperson Steve Dailisan. Steve, welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening to you, Robbie, and good evening, Gretchen, and thanks for having me.
Mr. Dailisan, is Air Asia considering slapping fuel charges on its consumers? And bottom line, what will that mean for airfares?
Well, technically, in terms of base fare, there's no significant effect. In fact, we've just finished our successful 6/6 Freedom Sale that happened from June 6 until June 12. That's yesterday, wherein we offered Air Asia guests one-way base fare from as low as 66 pesos in all of our 16 domestic destinations. Now, as with most modes of transportation that utilizes fuel, we are not spared, Robbie, from the volatile pricing in the world market. This is why we are grateful of the immediate actions from the Civil Aeronautics Board, or CAB, which is the approving authority of movements not only in airfares, but also of other costs factored in for each flight. So that's from June 1 to 30, CAB granted a petition of all Philippine carriers, that includes us, Air Asia Philippines, to increase the fuel surcharge costs. So as you've mentioned earlier, it's from level 4 last March. It is now raised to level 7 to cushion the effects of the volatile movement of fuel prices in the world market. Now, what does this mean for all of our guests? So for domestic fuel surcharge costs, this range from 328 to 769 pesos depending on the destination. So for example, if you're flying from Manila to Cebu, which is roughly around 401 to about 600 kilometers under CAB's fuel surcharge matrix, you'll be charged 441 pesos. So for context, Robbie, AirAsia hasn't been collecting fuel surcharge costs since 2015, but we saw the need now because of the movement, the significant movement in terms of fuel pricing.
Now, for the big picture, in the meantime, of course, the government is trying to reopen tourism. What does all of this mean for demand?
Well, thankfully, we haven't seen any drop in terms of flight bookings. There's what we call revenge traveling. In fact, we recorded an increase in forward bookings. That's for the months of June and July to our key destinations. So that include Caticlan, Calibo, Puerto Princesa, Cagayan de Oro, and Cebu. And a lot of foreign visitors are expected to fly to the Philippines. So hopefully, the recovery period will not be halted in any way by the fuel surcharge or the fuel movement in the world market.
Okay, you've mentioned what CAAB did for the industry. Is there anything else that you need and that you, in fact, expect forthcoming from government?
Well, first of all, we're grateful to CAAB for their quick response. Now, the review of the fuel surcharge cost, it now happens every 15th of the month. It used to be the periodic review happens every 2 months, but now every month there is a review and all the factors considered, now it's being reflected every month. So we will continue to update our guests, our passengers, of the changes in terms of fuel surcharge cost, but what we can assure them, if they fly with AirAsia, we reassure our guests that we will continue to be true of our promise of democratizing air travel despite the adjustments in fuel prices, Robbie.
Okay, maraming salamat. That was Steve Dailisan, spokesperson for AirAsia Philippines. Meanwhile, Russia, the country in the middle of a war against Ukraine, which has disrupted the global economy, is vowing to support the Philippines with its oil and energy supply. A look at what Moscow's ambassador discussed with the incoming president in Judy Baiza's report.
With the continuous oil price hikes in the Philippines, the Russian government said they are ready to extend a helping hand to the country. The war between Russia and Ukraine pushing the cost of fuel products to new heights. Moscow is making a commitment to help the Philippines with its oil and energy supply.
We are ready to cooperate with the Filipino side and to extend our helping hands to satisfy the needs in sources of energy.
Ambassador Marat Pavlov paid President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. a courtesy visit where they also talk about the ongoing war.
As far as I understand, President-elect would like to continue his independent policy.
During the campaign, Marcos Jr. said there was no need to make a stand as the Philippines is not involved in the war. He backtracked days after and called on the Kremlin to respect Ukraine's freedom. Meanwhile, Egyptian diplomat Shihab El-Din Ibrahim also visited Marcos Jr. He invited the president-elect to the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Egypt in November.
He believes in the climate change issues and to be closely just following what would be the way forward.
Ambassadors from Denmark and Israel, as well as the Asian Development Bank President Masagutsu Asakawa, also met with Marcos Jr. to discuss various issues, including sustainability and energy efficiency. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza, We Are One News.
These are the other big stories tonight. Will maskless individuals in Cebu be arrested or not? Police in the Visayas find themselves following different orders as the Cebu provincial government stands firm on its policy to make mask wearing optional outdoors, contrary to national guidelines. LTO has revoked the driver's license of the owner of the SUV in the hit-and-run incident in Ortigas. Records show he has had cases of reckless driving way back 2010. A Google engineer has been asked to go on leave after claiming the computer chatbot he was working on gained consciousness. These big stories after the break.
watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Free rides welcome commuters in Rizal as government hopes to ease the public's commuting concerns.
This, however, came at a cost as other PUV and tricycle drivers had a harder time finding passengers. Mont Gualvez with the story.
With daily commute getting harder each day, government hopes to alleviate the struggle by restarting its free ride program. Buses under the service contracting program pick up passengers from Montalban and drop them off at Quezon Avenue and vice versa. It runs from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. and will last till the end of the month.
Malaking tulong yun, sir, kasi nakakabawas sa mga nating gastusin.
Mas maganda po pag may libreng sakay, lalo na mahirap sumakay pag morning.
Under arrangement, government will pay the PUV driver based on their weekly number of trips. But some bus drivers admit they still don't know how much they will actually make and if the pay will be delayed yet again.
Hindi pa namin kasi alam yung sistema ng kung anong sahod, di pa namin alam Wala pa sinasabi.
Sana maayos yung maging pasahod sa amin ng gobyerno para matuloy-tuloy.
The free ride route encompasses 21.6 kilometers starting from JP Rizal Street here in Montalban or Rodriguez Rizal, going to Batasan San Mateo Road, exiting to Commonwealth Avenue, heading towards Quezon Ave Corner BRR Road. While the free ride provides a respite for commuters, other PUVs flying almost the same route see it as a threat.
In fact, some jeepney drivers here in Rizal now wait for passengers even during supposed rush hour.
Akala namin maraming tao, yung pala pagdating dito, hindi sa amin sumasakay, inaabangan talaga yung mga bus. Kaya wala nangyari sa amin. 70 pesos pa uwi.
Free rides would also mean less passengers for tricycles. This trike driver showed us the less than 200 pesos he earned the whole morning. In a statement, the LTFRB said the program benefits more. The agency also hopes to be granted more funding so that more PUVs will be added into the program. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Incoming Trade Secretary Alfredo Pascual says he is studying ways to tame runaway food prices, which is shaping up to be the incoming administration's most pressing challenge. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez with the story.
Incoming Trade Secretary Alfredo Pascual said he's looking at a number of initiatives to help ease the pain of high inflation for consumers. One of these is to look for alternative raw materials.
Baka meron dyan na hindi pa natin natatap na maaaring maging source itong mga importanteng kalakal. Pwede rin naman mabawasan yung demand sa paggamit ng mga substitute products. Na pwede nating i-promote.
He didn't specify what substitute products they're looking into, but one of the most pressing concerns has been the price of imported chemical fertilizers. These have tripled in price because of the prolonged war in Ukraine, which in turn has led many farmers to cut back. Longer term, Pascual also wants to cut red tape to encourage more people to get into business.
Na meron ng computerized system, yung gumamit na ng digitalized system na pwede nang gawin ang registration online. Malaking bagay yon.
Pascual says they will also come up with a system to make loans and financing more accessible to MSMEs, which make up more than 99% of registered businesses in the country. A key part of his strategy also involves linking sari-sari stores with the suppliers in the market, which is where e-commerce services such as Marapido Incorporated come in.
We operate distribution of goods to our partner sari-sari stores. We distribute to about 15,000 sari-sari stores currently in Metro Manila. They don't lose out, they actually gain with the platform.
For now, manufacturers are trying to stagger the price increases so that it's not too heavy on the consumers.
So it's a merry-go-round, staggered basis, just so people don't feel the pinch na one time, big time, all items increased all at the same time.
But after several weeks of consecutive oil price hikes and continued disruption because of the war in Ukraine, Filipinos are left with very little choice. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, we are One News.
The driver of the SUV, which figured in a viral hit-and-run incident in Ortigas, will no longer get to drive. The Land Transportation Office has revoked the driver's license of the SUV owner, identified as one Jose San Antonio San Vicente. He was found liable for reckless driving and for having violated Section 55 of the Land Transportation and Traffic Code, which states the duty of a driver in an accident. San Vicente is also now perpetually disqualified from ever securing a license. LTO records show that he had past cases of reckless driving in 2010, 2015, and 2016. San Vicente was a no-show in LTO hearings on the matter.
Time for another quick break. When we return. Mask on or mask off? The regional police in Central Visayas and Cebu police are taking different sides as Cebu provincial government stands by its new mask mandate. Meanwhile, the health department clarifies that it has yet to raise risk classification in Metro Manila to alert level 2, saying current metric, so no warrant any escalation just yet. And a software engineer at Google claims that the company's artificial intelligence-based chatbot had become sentient. These big stories after the break.
You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Hong. Masks on or off? That's the question among Cebuanos right now. This as authorities release contradicting directives on the optional mask mandate signed by Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia.
But with the recent uptick in cases, the health department is advising that now is still not the time to lower our guards. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro has this report.
Cebu police is now caught between two masters, the Interior Department and Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia. Just last week, Garcia issued an executive order making the wearing of face masks optional in the province's open spaces. But the Interior Department rejected that mandate, saying the president's approved IATF guidelines still apply and that violators will be apprehended. The Philippine National Police has made it clear the president's order stands.
Okay, ngayon, pag ayaw nyo sumunod, edi mag-resign tayo. Kasi ayaw nyo sumunod, di ba? Ganun lang kasimple.
The Central Visayas Regional Police said it will follow the national government, but the Cebu Provincial Police has not budged, saying they will enforce Garcia's order.
Palagi naman po tayo nagkakandak ng rekorida na wearing a face mask dahil po ang COVID-19 is nandito pa rin po.
While vowing to follow the DILG, the regional police admits they have yet to receive reports of an arrest due to non-wearing of masks.
Actually naman po sa mga Cebuano naman po, pag binibigyan ng face mask, sumusunod naman po sila pag sinabihan po ng PNP na mag-wear pa rin ng face.
The DILG now plans to meet with the Cebu provincial government to discuss possible adjustments to the EO.
Communication is key. A show cause order will be the last step if ever no adjustments will be made.
Health experts continue to warn that now is not the best time to scale down health measures, especially with the uptick in cases and the transmission of Omicron subvariants. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
The Health Department clarified that the possibility of escalation of alert levels is dependent on the metrics of the IATF. The DOH made the clarification after the Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said that there's a possibility that alert level may be escalated to level 2. But the DOH said that will be dependent on the increase in cases and hospital admissions. Meanwhile, infectious disease expert Dr. Ronjean Solante retracted his earlier statement, saying it is not yet the right time to lift the public state of emergency for COVID-19 in the country. Solante, however, also eased on worries of another COVID-19 surge, urging the public to get their booster shots.
If you look at the 300 plus cases, it's not something to worry about, no? Something to be of concern. No? Sana with this number of cases, mapalago natin ang first booster sa general population, which is for me very important with the Omicron lineages.
Two conglomerates had a historic meeting just today. San Miguel Corporation head honcho Ramon Ang and Metro Pacific Investments Corporation President and Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan met and shook hands at San Miguel's head office in Mandaluyong. The two discussed several matters, including sports and business. Also present were SMC Sports Director Al Francis Chua, President and CEO of PLDT and Smart Communications Al Panlilio, and former Philippine Olympic Committee President and current PBA Chairman Ricky Vargas. In today's society, of course, technology is a very crucial part of all our lives. In fact, many adults and even companies have become dependent on technology and they tend not to function without it.
But have we come to a point where technology is ready to take over? Recently, a senior engineer at Google claimed that the company's artificial intelligence-based chatbot had become sentient. Engineer Blake Lemon published a blog labeling Lambda, or language model for dialogue applications, as a person after having conversations with the AI bot on subjects like religion, consciousness, and robotics. Lemon added that he found Lambda to be incredibly consistent in its communications about what it wants and what it believes its rights are as a person.
Google first announced Lambda at its flagship developer conference in 2021 as its generative language model for dialogue applications. The company has also yet to respond to questions regarding Lemon's post, but has suspended the engineer. That's as of June 6.
How do you feel about this?
Oh, I remember waking up to this news. It was one of the first things I shared on social media. But really, I don't know what to think yet because the scientists, the engineers are saying, no, that's getting too far in calling it sentient. But at the same time, bottom line, grabe na technology.
Ang lalim ng consciousness ng Lambda. And kanina ako naman, ang reaction ko doon, tuwan-tuwa ako kasi parang may moral values yung chatbot. Sabi ko, pwede bang ilipat sa humans yun? Kung pwede lang, game naman ako doon.
Diba? Everything we've watched, diba? Space Odyssey, Her, Black Mirror, everybody woke up thinking the same things. Ito na ba? Ito na ba?
Well, I hope it brings us the good that we need in this world.
We hope.
Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Gretchen Ho. We are One News. Have a good evening.